live. Okay. Oh, I should have just gone onto the loading screen. It doesn't matter. Greetings and welcome, everyone. Let me just make sure this is live. I'm very good at this. It should be live now. Yeah, we're live. Excellent. We're live. Hello, everybody. So if you're tuning in now, we'll start the full show in a minute, because it's like because I'll recut it as what do you call it? Podcast. So we'll just wait for everyone to load in, and I'll share it everywhere. But you get to see us live, especially planned live. We actually did it 3 weeks after the last one, I think. Yeah. Wow, we did it. We're ahead of schedule. That's impressive. Yeah. Let me share this.
I better do the same.
We're so professional.
That'd be very smart, right? Yeah. Well, I just figured I'd wait for you to kind of set the tone, John, with your professionalism.
Yeah, can't discuss that on live stream. I could, but I won't. Let me just share stuff. Oh, my stomach hurts.
Are you on Blue Sky, John?
No, I just haven't gotten around to doing it.
Right, I'll have to hashtag you then.
It's fine. I'll be
with Cyrac.
I'll be training. Yeah, it's weird. Like, Threads keeps dying for me on the PC, but the mobile version is fine.
That's it. That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that's why my ad block blocked Threads. Nope, it's still not working. Whatever. Let me just.
And whilst you're all getting in, don't forget to hit like down below. That's the important one. John's really good at this stuff, so I figure I'll do it for him.
Yes. Oh, we have 16 watching, so we can fully start. Oh,
16!
Oh, big numbers. You know, it's four. Also, RIP to Skype. I believe this is the last day of Skype, so we are actually recording on a dead format, so that's great. Oh, dying format. Kind of like Warcry. What? Oh, shit.
Yeah, because Microsoft have lost the STCs to Skype, so they can't update it any further.
Really?
No, that's a Warhammer reference.
I know,
John.
but I was like, have they actually... No.
No, they're moving everyone over to Teams. That's the thing. Apparently, they really want people to use Teams instead.
Well, I have Microsoft Office, and I'm actually like really annoyed because they've increased the subscription from £80 to £105 for... You know, my friend was like, "Oh, that's what's going to happen." Like, exactly. And then I was like, "Look, I have an Adobe subscription. Adobe hasn't changed their price. It's just like £60 a month. At least I know what I'm getting. Yeah, and it's a lot, right? I get a use out of Microsoft Office, but not £105 a year use out of Office. Anyway, so let's fully start. Greetings and welcome to Critcast Live. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we've edited it down, so you can watch these live, where this is a more curated thing you're listening to. But I'm joined by Scrivo. How are you, Scrivo?
I'm really good. I have played lots of Kill Team recently, so I'm feeling pretty hyped.
Oh, nice. I've actually played a lot of Kill Team too. I have played in 2 events, actually, back to back. I haven't done...
I saw.
Yeah, I haven't actually done that since I played Underworlds, which is oddly... like nostalgia.
Dark Ages.
Yeah, the Dark Ages. I wasn't as successful because in Underworlds I won both events back to back. This time I came first and then second, so still very good. Yeah. But you know,
with your little glass trophy collection.
You know what's funny? I still have the world's largest collection of official Warhammer trophies, and I still have the most Underworld trophies. I think it.
Yeah, but shops could literally buy them.
I know, shush. But well, not anymore. They stopped making them. Like. I think I stopped count at 38 glass trophies for Underworlds. So, yeah. You know, they announced the Warhammer Heroes. I'm a cancelled Warhammer hero.
There's no proof, John.
I know, because they deleted it, so it doesn't matter. It's nice. I liked who they picked for Warhammer
I won't worry about it. I won't worry about it.
There's someone I think who should be a Warhammer hero. They're always nominated, but I believe it never goes through. They're a lovely local of Nottingham coffee shops, and they do nice, honest content. They're great. They never watch my stuff though. It's depressing, but it's fine. Anyway, we had a balanced dataslate, so we're going to discuss that. Oh yeah, what did you play with Scrivo then?
I played with Angels of Death because why change anything?
They are actually in a really good spot, but we'll get onto that.
Yeah.
I guess you were just playing casual / club games.
Yeah, so my local club's running a kind of beginners league thing where we're basically doing 6 games. I've lost one of my games so far, and that was the mirror match, where I rolled 1s and 2s.
Yep.
That was the game.
Yep.
So it was like, cool, didn't matter what I did, just rolled a 1 or a 2.
Because purity seals only kick in once per turning point. So
yeah,
it's rough.
Really didn't help.
I was
so
actually.
That was a rough one.
Oh, go on.
And it was my birthday.
Oh yeah, we're so old. We're in the same month, so we both had our birthdays.
Yeah.
Getting a year closer to each other. Anyway,
to death.
I was trying to not say that. Let's be optimistic. Only the Pope
Only
died.
in death does duty end.
Yeah.
And that duty is to the community, of course.
Exactly. Well, I was actually going to play Angels of Death, and I discussed it in my tournament video, but effectively I played them into Chaos Cult and Corsairs, and the problem I found with Angels of Death, they're in a good spot, but when it came up to the meta matchups, you like stuff that was really close, you were either relying on you rolling really well or your opponent rolling badly to you to capitalize on stuff like tilting shields or like Jeweler. And when you don't get that, you just die. Like there's nothing. And the problem is you have to apply pressure. You have to I'm not saying like run down your opponent's face, but be in a situation where they have to go, oh, I can't just move up for free because next turning point he's just going to move or charge and do stuff. But the problem is you do that, then you get risk of being punished, and it's like it becomes just a knife edge. So that's why I went off them, because I was like into Chaos Cult, played a game, lost by 1, super close. It literally just came down to the clutch rolls. And then we played another game and he won like 21-5. And I was just like, what is going on with this team? But they're fun. It's just like they're not oddly much better spot now, considering nothing happened to them. They did nothing and they're like, yes, huge success. Amazing. But yeah, I think, before we continue, we do have a tournament coming up in 2 weeks, the Goonhammer Open UK in Leicester. This is the second one. So currently we have 26 tickets sold. So it's a 4-round event in Leicester. We're not streaming at this time. We're just going to focus on the event.
Yep.
So it should be nice and fun. Everyone should have a good time. But if you are interested in tickets, we've got at least 1 golden ticket. I think it's maybe 2 with some funding. You get the Goonhammer Open Championship belt if you also win. You get you get awards for best top 3, best in factions, as well as best painted, most sporting. My new award, which I don't need to retire, the person who plays or beats the most Sanctifiers. And note, you cannot be a Sanctifier to earn that trophy. As well as I'm going to try and introduce random spot prizes. So after this is over, I will speak to Scrivo to supply me with some prizes, because I have a good memory. Yes, but we'll be there.
Yeah, you haven't totally forgotten about this already.
Shush.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
It's fine. Last time you were like a week before, you were like, can I have this? I'm like, thank goodness it's in stock and I can get it.
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, it was, to be fair, it was pretty clutch. You were able to get me Nemesis Claw for the event. That was pretty awesome, I'll have to say. No one else could.
They were out of stock the week after. The week after they were out of stock when I tried to reorder them again. I was like, oh, cool, this is fine.
It's like random tangent. I've been trying to buy the Deathcore Command Squad, and I only realised it's just been out of stock for months. Like
they have. They're back in stock this week.
Ah, okay, cool. Because I've been getting into Trench Crusade. Anyway,
I'll message you about that afterwards, John.
Thank you.
I may have one coming for
nice. You. But yeah, if you want to come, it'll be fun. Our events are chill. They are competitive, but they are very chill, and you'll have a good time, no matter your skill level. But
vibe first.
Exactly.
That's what I think the mentality was, right?
Yeah. I think next year we're going to do a 1 day and 2 day, so to even it out. But this year we're doing two 1 days, and we might have another Kill Team event in September. So there should be. Yes. Yeah.
Just not with you.
Beat the most S tier teams award is hilarious. Yes. Or survive. Like, you don't have to win. You just have to play them. Like, if it comes down to tiebreakers, it will go to who beat the most. Who
lost the least amount of models into them.
Like,
that's the other one, right?
What was your kill up against Sanctifiers? Well, they didn't wipe me out. Before we get into the Balance Dataslate, I will do a brief sprint about Sanctifiers. And actually, no, let's just get into the Balance Dataslate. So, the Balance Dataslate was updated.
Yes.
So, I will say this. Sanctifiers were hit in a very small way, but I did not think they would. I am impressed Games Workshop hit Sanctifiers. The thing is, I believe the only reason they had one thing changed. They've only been out for a month. 6 weeks if you're in Spain, a month everywhere else. But there is not enough formal data And like the thing is, when you look at 40k, people are like, oh, it's happening in 40k. You have to remember 40k would have like thousands of games in that time frame for them to use.
Yeah.
They do not have that for Kill Team. But
and
go on.
40k has the app Tabletop Battles, which creates data from people's pickup games. So there is all of the data possible.
The issue we have with Kill Team, we have too many factions and not enough games and not enough players to fully support them. But also, it's still very clear that Sanctifiers are a problem. So they managed to hit them in one way, and I believe that's the only way they could justify. Because obviously, I used to be a playtester for Games Workshop, so I know there's it's politics when it comes to balance.
Still are.
Oh yeah, that comes to. So it's like, from my time, I know it has changed a bit, but you still have to justify why things need being changed. So I believe they could only do one thing, and the thing they did was you can't use Lead the Procession Turning Point 1, which is a nice band-aid, but the problem is you've got two breeds of Sanctifier players. You've got the bad / just normal players who rush down you Turning Point 1 and go, oh wow, I'm in your face, I've won initiative, oh, I've wiped you out. Then you have the good Sanctifier players who realize Lead the Procession is an amazing tool to make sure you're there wherever you want to be. And what you actually do is you go down one flank of the board. If your opponent tries and runs away, or you wipe out that flank, you then lane switch in a single turning point, which normally takes people 2 turning points on average to do. So you do that in a single turning point and just mess them up. And the problem is, because I've already been discussing with other players, it's now going to force Sanctifier players to think, which is terrifying, because currently they haven't been thinking, and now they'll have to think, and it's terrifying. They can do so much to zone you out. I thought they were easier to beat on Gallowdark, but after I played them on Gallowdark in a tournament, they are way better on Gallowdark. They can apply way more pressure than I thought they could. So it's not looking good. But I'm impressed they hit them. But as I said, I think it's because they could only do one thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if by like end of May or end of June, we get an emergency change to Sanctifiers. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think they'll wait till July to hit Sanctifiers. They're too problematic. I have seen the April data. Because the interesting thing, because when I cover the April data, we have had lots of players actively boycotting not running Sanctifiers. And even with the boycott of like top players not running Sanctifiers, the small selection of Sanctifiers have been dominating the game, which is worrying. So it's only going to get worse. So what do you think about Sanctifiers, Scrivo?
I have avoided them because there was 2 copies of it sold in my local community, and I bought them, and I split one box with a friend that has put them on a shelf and forgotten about them, and then the other box is just down there below my feet for me to kick whenever I'm frustrated. No, the reality is I just haven't had time to even consider either. And that's what I think is quite good if you're taking it a little bit more chill with Kill Team, is often by the time you actually get round to doing something with a team, if there is a problem with them, it might have been fixed by then. Like, that's a positive, right? Like if there is any kind of issues with something, normally they'll figure it out in a good enough time that it's not like a year later you're like, cool, I wish they'd fixed these already.
Well, yeah, it's like I play Legions Imperialis, and they finally got their balance update a year and a half after the game launched, and it needed it like a month after. So we are like living in the golden age of balance, and they are quite reactive. But as Dan has said, he's the world champion.
Oh,
this is what I was saying. Sanctifier saw a small nerf, but they now just win a lot of matches rather than win by a big margin. Yeah, so they'll now just actively edge you out, because what they actually excel at is taking the lead and then using Lead the Procession to just run away, so you can't threaten them, and you just go like, what? They just disappeared. They all. It's like, where did Godzilla go?
Drop,
in New York.
Just a puff of smoke and they disappear.
Yeah, literally. It's just like they're all Batman. But it's like, I'm sure they are very likely going to get hit more. My biggest thing is, like, I speak about him a lot, and genuinely, look, this is me being serious. I think Rob from The Honest Wargamer is a great guy, and I think Rob, and I think his takes are great. But what I agree with him, like, because we talked about, like, when stuff is broken, there is no problem running broken stuff. It is not the player's fault for running something broken or using a broken mechanic. It's down to the company, the rules designers, for facilitating that. Now, it doesn't give you like carte blanche to just be a dick, right? And go like, oh, you're not even good enough to play me. Like, just own that they're broken, right? Just go like, I am playing a broken team. They are absolutely broken, but I'm going to keep playing them because for whatever reason, like, it's completely valid to go like, I invested in them. I play them until they'll get nerfed, or I want to be competitive and literally all the other teams I want to play are completely countered by this and I don't want to play elites. That is completely fine. Just like I read the Sanctifier chats now for just pure elation because I watch into it and I've never met a faction channel where the fans are as deluded as the faction they're playing, right? Because you know the Sanctifiers are all these religious like zealots, completely like brainwashed. So all the players, it turns out, they're like, oh yeah, now the team is balanced. I was like, yes, excellent.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Look, I'm playing Death Guard at the moment, and I was totally expecting the Plague Marines for their healing to be hit. After playing them, I found their healing is the main problem.
They're very consistent. Yeah. They're very consistent.
So I think basically the heal should be 2d3 from the Sorcerer instead of 2d6 picking the highest thing unless you roll a 7. Because every time you roll a 7, it just destroys your opponent. But on average, you're rolling like 5? It's crazy. Well, on average, you're rolling 7. I think 2d3 would be a lot fairer for people, because at least when you roll like... it feels like other medics, because when you roll that 7, it's really uninteractive. But I'll be like openly talk that. You talk to Sanctifier players like, oh no, I need the damage reduction. I need to be everywhere on the board. I need to, and it's just like, come on guys, just own it.
They need a weakness.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah. There needs to be an in that can be picked on.
Yeah, and it's like just own it. There's nothing wrong, but just don't go into like the game going like, oh, they're actually completely fair now. I was just like, just own it. There's nothing wrong with that.
They need further correction. If my grot isn't allowed to sit on the top of a Volcus building, you're not allowed your bent little team either.
Well, it's like my friend was trying his Wrecker Crew into Sanctifiers, and he was like, I charged my bomb squig into 4 operatives, and then I tried to blow up, and he rolled a 2 and stopped me blowing up. And I was just like, I know he rolled a 3. Sorry, he rolled a 3. And I was just like, I'm so sorry, bro. And he's like, there was nothing I could do.
How is that ever the right interaction to have written? Like, and that just feels really miserable. Like, he's blown up and then he's done, right?
Yeah. So he didn't blow up, and then all the Sanctifiers just fell back from that guy really far away. But what I was expecting, I was expecting the Drill Abbot to get hit. So the Drill Abbot has a mechanic where if you're within 6 inches of him, you lose all your APL modifiers and they can't be added. So Nemesis Claw had something like that, and they toned it down to 3 inches because it was messing up too many factions. And I thought they would do that as well, but they didn't, which is really strange because the Drill Abbot just shuts that down. But basically, I wouldn't be surprised if Sanctifiers get an emergency nerf end of May, end of June, because we'll have the next Balance Dataslate end of July, and this will be the last Balance Dataslate before the World Championships of Warhammer, because they will probably delay the next one until December, because technically it should be out end of November, but they would delay it for the World Championships. So, because after July, you have the World Team Championships, Nova, London GT, you maybe have another Goonhammer Open, you have LVO, and then you have the World Championships of Warhammer. And I'm sure there's other big events. I think there's like another, the SoCal Open as well. There's like lots of big events there. So Games Workshop will naturally not release anything before that period. So, and
there'll be a season patch as well.
Yes,
theoretically.
Yeah, we'll have a new season as well. So there'll be a huge drop there. But that's Sanctifiers. I've dedicated enough time to Sanctifiers. If you are a Sanctifier player, don't worry. I am now still going to do my Sanctifier guide video to show you how to properly play Sanctifiers, so you know how to destroy your opponents, so we get that emergency nerf just a bit quicker. So don't worry.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah, I'm doing my part. I'm not playing them. It was funny. Me and Nick, we were in the final of the tournament we played on Saturday, and it was like we basically had like a 50% chance to play Sanctifiers, and when we got paired against each other, we were like, no, we don't normally say this, but I'm so glad I'm playing you. It's just so bad.
That's what you want, right?
But speaking of nerfs, what do you guys think about Gourmongers? Too good, too skewed to be good? Or I personally think Gourmongers are a problem, but not for elites, for the rest of the meta. So Gourmongers kind of gatekeep the rest of the meta at the moment, in my opinion. I believe that, personally, the meta, if you wanted to play generally, the meta is Gourmongers, Sanctifiers, elites. Outside of that, you're in a rough time. Have you played into Gourmongers Scrivo?
I have spent a lot of time reading the rules and painting them. They're still not got to tabletop yet, but to me, I look at them and go,
No, go on.
Yeah, carry on.
Oh, no, are they in the World Eaters Codex? I think they are, right?
Yes, they are.
Are they good?
They are a solid unit that gets Infiltrator.
Ooh.
So they can be put forward and stops people boxing you in, which was a real weakness. So,
they're very good.
And there is a cultist attachment, so them and the normal jackals can be in units. You can have 6 units of each of them, and that's really fun.
Yeah, Gourmongers are a good pick. I mean, I managed to get 2 more Gourmongers from eBay, so these are 2 more aspirants.
Nice.
So once I paint those up, they were my backup. But so many people play Gourmongers at the moment, I'm kind of like, oh, never mind. I can't do fun Gourmonger stuff. I like to be my special snowflake self.
Yeah.
So going on to Arthur.
That's why I've been avoiding finishing painting them. I'm like, I'll just play with my robed Dark Angels. Yep. It's fine.
Well, if you believe a certain Northerner, Dark Angels are getting a kill team. We'll see.
Yeah, I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah. I really like. I won't say it properly now, but it sounds like something I would feed someone to purposely trip them up. Like, it's such a random selection. An Eradicator, led by a Stern Guard. With what else did he say again?
It was an Infernus Marine with a random Phobos guy led by a Stern Guard Sergeant. Yeah. But they're Dark Angels. Yeah. But they might just be green plastic. They might not even be Dark Angels like detailing on them or anything. I was like, this just sounds like someone's just wish listed it and then just sent it to a certain tinfoil hat wearing man.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Kobe asks, where can I see the new changes? Warhammer community have linked it. I'll send it now. I know there's a community document that shows all the changes. I don't have access to that, but I've also done a video. There we go. Thank you, Scrivo. You sent it. Where
I'm quicker than you.
Where I go through all and every change. Let's see. So what other nerfs did we get that were notable? We won't go over everything because there was actually quite a lot. I'll quickly touch on it now. So counteract was changed slightly, the heavy weapon. So now when you counteract, if you move whatsoever, you cannot fire a heavy weapon, which currently only what do you call it? Angels of Death
Eliminator
can do. Basically eliminate as Angels of Death, which is very weird. But I think it's probably future-proofing, likely for either the Ravenous kill team or the Servitor kill team, the Battleclade. Yeah. Probably the Battleclade. It's just very confusing. They probably wanted to drop it now before it confuses people. So we've got I personally think it's a slight spoiler, but I have no idea why. It's just like, okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to break this down. It's like you could do Wrath of Vengeance to dash and then shoot your sniper.
Yes.
I've done that once.
Yeah.
But it's not like game breaking, so it's clearly something else.
But it must mean likely the Battleclade can do multiple counteracts where they can fire their heavy weapons. So yeah, it's there. What other big changes? So let's go over Felgore. So Felgore did need to be addressed. They had a 50-ish% win rate, but had very high podium ratings and event wins. So this is where Games Workshop now looks at data where they look at the win rate, but also look at how well factions are podiuming and doing, which we provide in our stats. So Jaegers, I'll get onto Jaegers. So basically, let me just bring up Felgore Ravager. They're under F for get fucked. So Frenzy, you now get removed after you Frenzy if your activation ends or your counteract ends, which makes sense because it was quite silly for counteracting and not losing your dying after Frenzy, or activate it, but you would when you activate. This actually helps Horde teams because Horde teams generally outnumber Felgore, so that's a nice buffer there. Ambush has actually been quite severely nerfed. It no longer lets you turn a miss into a hit, it just lets you turn a hit into a crit, which actually severely hurts the Felgore accuracy, meaning they have to rely on their general rerolls more, which is actually one of the biggest changes, because before, when it came to this edition, they always could turn a miss into a hit. Then this edition they could turn a hit into a crit. Now they can only do the latter, and I actually really like it. It rewards you for hitting well, but not for being if you're too reckless.
Yeah.
And then Reckless Determination works like last edition, so if you're in cover it doesn't stack. You can only ever have one source of auto-saving. Nullscar and Mangler go back to 10 wounds like they were last edition, and the Shaman's shooting attack, which I only found out a shooting attack yesterday, has gone from Seek to Seek Light. So a lot of nerfs there. Now, I'll read out one message from a trusted viewer. Sorry, ex-viewer. So he wrote 2 weeks ago, Felgore need all these abilities. They don't need any nerfs. And then he wrote 2 weeks later, can you roll a crit? I can't watch you anymore. Felgore has been nerfed into the ground. I don't know how much influence influencers have, but Felgore hurt are so bad.
Oh, John.
Felgore are great. Like, they're still really good. They still frenzy they still frenzy. So the thing is, they're just solid. They still gatekeep a ton of shooting factions or just mix non-dedicated melee factions out of the game. They're now just worse into elites, which they were already bad into. So I think that's all that needs to be said about Felgore. They're still completely fine. It's just it's impressive to see the knee-jerk reaction from Felgore players.
I think it's the natural state of a reaction for any gamer.
Yes.
Like, people normally just panic and don't like change and assume for the worst. And sometimes you just got to breathe, go touch some grass, and then go, okay, this isn't going to change if I complain. So let's see how I can change how I play with this. And is it worth it, or do I need to change something else?
Yeah.
Simple as.
No, exactly. Because the funny thing is, it's just like the only nerf I said was just like basically frenzy only triggers if you're ready. They just did a ton of changes I didn't even recommend. And like when I post my changes video, when I've posted it, the changes are already done. So there's no way, unless they're just like, hold the print until John posts the video. So that's just fine.
Maybe it's because you've put the video public but already sent it to Games Workshop early.
Oh, yes. I mean, that's what I used to do when I was playtesting Found Worlds. Oh, John, you got this FAQ article out quickly. Yes. Yes, I type real fast.
Oh, John. Some of us actually have to just wait for the rules to be out in public.
Don't worry, all the playtesters do it. Chaos Cult and Plague Marines, I would like to give them a award of nerfs, but not really. So Chaos Cult, their current problem is they've gone back to spamming Torments, and their Torments and Mutants have Accurate 2. So everyone was expecting either Torments to go down to Accurate 1, or you get one a Turning Point. Instead, Torments can't throw crack grenades. They didn't even clarify the timing of their extra fight ploy, which they've clarified every other ploy, and this ploy had the most open wording. It's just like, during your activation, spend 1 CP. Yeah. You can do 1 fight action for 0 CP during your activation. They didn't clarify the timing of that. Didn't get any of that. You just can't throw a crack grenade while you're a Torment, which is just funny, because that's just like the most random thing you could have hit, which did nothing. And then Plague Marines, their Cloud of Flies has gone down from a 3-inch radius to a 1-inch radius, so it's effectively a smaller smoke grenade. And I was like, oh, they're going to hit the healing. They just hit this Cloud of Flies, and I was just like, okay. So you do have to be more defensive with Cloud of Flies now for Plague Marines. But the thing is, with Cloud of Flies, it should at least be a 2-inch radius, because they've effectively made it a firefight ploy, and they already have the Nurgling strategy ploy, which is a firefight ploy. So basically, Plague Marines have 2 firefight ploys, one that could potentially be free all game, and then now you have 6 firefight ploys. So to make it worthy to be a strategy ploy, they should either make Cloud of Flies a 2-inch radius, or one suggestion I was speaking to someone, which I really like, is you put the Cloud of Flies marker within control range of a friendly operative, and then it moves with the operative for that turning point, and everyone within control range of the Cloud of Fly markers counts as being obscured. I think that would actually be really nice. And it would make sense because it's a cloud of moving flies. But yeah, go on.
Rather than it's just going to sit there for the entire game and just be probably on an objective, just probably hiding at least one of your guys.
Yeah.
It's an absolute nightmare. It's not very interactive. I think that's the problem I have with it as a thing, as it came out, at least on release.
Yes, it's more interactive now, but it's just weird. I was just like, look, if this is the best they could do, it feels like for these two nerfs, they didn't know what to do to the faction and they were too scared. So
maybe just give everyone all spec scan as a universal equipment. Yeah. There you go, fix it.
Let's see other interesting nerfs. So they were the only 2 teams that I think got nerfed, but not really. Oh, poor Corsairs. Let's do Corsairs and Hand of the Archon. So Corsairs got hit.
I haven't looked at Corsairs yet.
So let me go through Corsairs. Corsairs, their Capricious Flight is before or after it performs an action, to just clarify timing. The Kernite Hunter, so this is the guy with the bird.
Yep.
So before, he would always be, if you are fighting him and he hasn't fired his bird, he would always retaliate first. Now it only triggers when he's ready, which means he is now less obnoxious to fight. He can now no longer just like activate and go like, I'm not shooting this bird, I fight first forever. So now they have to plan more defensively, like they have to stage more defensively and can't play it as offensively. Then the Shade Runner, all we just needed was please don't work on Gallowdark. It can still work on Gallowdark, but now if you use the warp jump action, you cannot dash in the same activation. So you can now no longer teleport then dash, which is rough. And then also when you try and do your slicing attack, so you can do it during your teleport jump pre-position, you can only do it to operatives that were visible at the start of your activation. So that
makes sense.
Yeah, because basically the biggest problem, it would hide behind a wall, or Gallowdark will slice you, and then you just constantly take D3 plus 2 damage. Or it would do D3 plus 2 damage, then shoot you. Now it can't do any of that. And then the Warding Shield now only works against normal damage instead of all damage, which makes sense. I think some Corsairs players were really shocked by that. But that's literally...
Get in the bin.
Yeah, unless you're Gourmongers, this is how this mechanic works generally for the whole
Every
game.
other time. Yeah.
So, like, basically, the Kernite Hunter was toned down a bit. It's still really good. The Shade Runner got kneecaps, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. And the Warding Shield just got toned down. Like, as Dan said, Corsairs are still going to be solid, just not running the Shade Runner up. Yeah, you would still play defensively, and you have to be in, like... You now have to, like, play a bit more honestly, which I think is fine. Yeah. They're still really strong. They're just not as dominant as they were before. Then, unfortunately, Hand of the Archon, I was hoping they would get a minor thing, but they got hit quite hard. So for Hand of the Archon, their pain tokens, they lost their ceaseless reroll. It's just a single reroll instead of rerolling one of any dice. But it does mean it stacks with balance, so you can still have double rerolls. And then your Cruel Deception, your fallback thing was synchronized with everyone else. But also the bird went down from 5 attacks to 4. I think some people were really shocked by this, but look, it's still the only weapon in the game with Seek and Silent. The bird was bullshit, right? I played the bird, and everyone would just go like, it's just a 5-attack bird, what could it do? And then it would just murder someone, right? It would, like, the first attack would do nothing, and then they'll go, turning point 2, are you going to fire a bird? Whatever. And then the bird just murdered someone. It needed to go down to 4 dice. So, but the pain token change, very, very hard. I think that knocks them down a tier. Hand of the Archon, I think they were probably scared of people just switching from Corsairs to Hand of the Archon. So I can see why they've done it. I would have liked at least the defensive reroll for your saves to be ceaseless, but the fact that's gone is a bit rough. So unfortunate to be Eldari. Yeah. You know, it's... Yeah, you can also give the bird ignore Syrian while it was silent, which is still obnoxious. We can go after Void Dancer Troop. Void Dancer Troop also got a nerf for some reason. Basically, their melee Sadef, if you kill someone, it doesn't trigger when they're retaliating, and their blades don't get balanced when they're retaliating. You know, I'm okay. I don't mind Void Dancer Troop getting more nerfs, but the weirdest thing is I haven't met a Void Dancer Troop player not using the shooting Sadef. So this is just the only thing that changes now, if you charge a Harlequin, they don't get balanced against you. So, you know, it's just, yeah, because it's just fine. So Eldari got hit. I think they were scared of the Eldari meta, which is a shame. It lived for like a month or 2, and now it's gone.
I got mine out and then thought about finishing painting them, and that was as far as they got.
Let's go over another interesting nerf. This is my favorite nerf because it's not a nerf, it's just a game mechanic clarification, but the faction players are treating it like an undeserved nerf. So for Ratlings, the tripwire can now no longer be placed within 2 inches of access points or accessible terrain. So this is just literally how mines work. They were just lucky that Games Workshop forgot to add that to their mines. So that's gone now. So now when you're like, because the thing is, when you're playing into Ratlings on Gallowdark, it would be horrid because, especially if you had doors on the midline, they would just put them in front of doors and then you're just trapped. You walk into the door and you're just stuck. So now Ratling players have to learn how to play Gallowdark, which is so bad for them, right? But
because they can't see over anything.
No, Gallowdark is just fine. It's the open room, so it's not too bad. But they were just used to like, oh, well, I've mined the middle of the room. This is completely fair. You need to move
Don't
up.
mind me.
Yeah, exactly. Don't mind me, bro. Anyway, let's see. What is the most balanced melee team? I know. I would actually say Galapox Infected are the most balanced melee team. We don't have many balanced melee teams, but it would be Galapox Infected. They actually got a big buff. I think they're in a great spot now. They are still kind of hurt by the game mechanically. So, Mutoid Vermin, just clarify, they don't really count for TAC ops. Then you've got Drawn to the Hum. So you now get +1 movement as long as you end your movement within 2 inches of an objective marker instead of just 1 inch. So you get more usage out of it because everyone's movement 5. The biggest change was Blessings of Infection. So currently, well, before it was just if you roll 3 or more fails, you can discard 1 to turn the other into a normal. And then now they've added if you roll 3 or more successes, you can discard 1 of your fails to return a normal into a crit. So you now get rewarded for hitting instead of just missing. So you get some buffs there. And now it's only 1 equipment point to add 4 Mutoid Vermin instead of 2. So they actually get more equipment choices. So I think they're actually in a really solid spot. My problem with Galapox is they still get slowed down by like mines in general, but more specifically stuns and razor wire, because it's more easier to block off their movement, and the fact Hulks are movement 5, you actually struggle getting where you need to be quickly. So, and elites are still a problem. The thing is, Galapox Hulks are really tough. They have 21 to 20 wounds, but generally they still only have, with their damage negation, at most like 23 wounds. So they still die to piercing 2 stuff with lots of high damage. And oddly, when I was playing Galapox, I found they died more to melee stuff than shooting. But like before last edition, you would have like several operatives try and kill a Hulk and fail to do it. Your opponent can get really lucky and kill them in one go, which is rough. So it's crazy. But there's like, I think they're in a good spot. They're quite competitive now. But if your opponent's really good at like blocking you off where you need to get to, they can kind of shut you out of the game. But that's just a mechanic, like a game mechanic, because of this. Like I'm going to do a video on it, but it's like the wall of terrain you can build to slow down your opponent, and then stuns. The fact everyone can just take stuns. You can like get blessings. Well, like you can take the equipment to pollute stockpile to get rid of it, but it's only on a 7-up. So I think the Galapox are in a solid spot. Which faction interests you the most for me to talk about, Scrivo, that I haven't already covered?
Vespids.
Okay, let's go over Vespids.
Because I'm not sure that a balanced data slate can fix that team for me.
I think it's going to take 2 more balanced data slates at this rate.
Yeah.
So Vespids, they've gone up to 9 operatives. Well, they've gone up to 11 operatives. So you can build everything in the box.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Their melee ploy improves their to hit stat by 1. So they now have 3 attacks hitting on freeze, 3/4 with lethal 5-up and shock, which is okay. The oversight drone doesn't need to be visible to friendly operatives to trigger its lethal 5-up, which is nice. The long sting, your rail rifle, now does D3 damage when it activates for each fragment it has. But the thing is, that's just weird because nothing's really should be surviving 2 hits from this. So I don't know how you're going to stack that up, but it's a nice buff. The Swarm Guard has the Sky Torch option, so now when it Sky Torches, 2 AP action, goes to 8-inch move and Sky Torches. The problem with this kill team, you cannot play the mission properly, right? That's why I think they should have been 7-inch movement. The problem is they're more fun, but when you're playing Vespid, you have to pick Confirm Kill, and you just play the kill op. You just walk into your opponent and shoot them. That is the game. That is all they can do. The fact that the oversight drone is the only 5-wound operative in the game, which I believe isn't an expendable operative. So it's still very weird. Like, I think they should have just made the team 7-inch move, 4 attack space, and then make the oversight drone expendable. That would have been really good. Like, they're fun. You can just swarm people with Vespid, but you are playing entirely on the kill op and your tac op. You do not care about the mission. You are like, if you have action points to spare to secure the midpoint, that's great. If you have secured your opponent's objective, something's gone wrong. You've already won the game at that point, I think. Or you have like somehow sacrificed an opponent to do that. It's they're in a fun spot, but they're still really bad. It's a shame. Like the team they're paired with, however, so Kazakin got a huge amount of buffs, right? Kazakin got a great number of buffs, basically reworked around the Recon Trooper. The only problem, they unintentionally invalidated Kazakin again with Tempestus Aquilans, because Tempestus Aquilans, who are paired with Vespid, have gone up to 11 operatives. So why would you run a slower Kazakin who don't have access to Recon when you can play Tempestus Aquilans with 11 operatives who are faster? Their hot drop ploy, whether like their relentless shooting ploy, now works when they're wholly within your territory, so they can use it throughout the game. I don't know why you would play Kazakin when Tempestus Aquilans exist. It's
if you only own them and you don't own the Aquilans, like me.
I would suggest if you wanted to play Kazakin, just play Tempestus Aquilans. Tempestus Aquilans, I think, got buffed incorrectly. I think it's a very bad move they made them an 11 operative team. I think they did not need that because they have 10 operatives with a wound pool of 81, and then they have another operative with 10 wounds and a 3-up save. So it's just kind of like, what were you guys thinking? Really, please. To be honest, sadly, that feels like another desperation buff in terms of we don't know what to do with the team plus 1 operative. Because generally,
that's a shame.
Yeah, because generally, if they do that, that's usually a sign where like, okay, we don't know what to do plus 1 operative.
So maybe this is them going, let's change this. We need to spend some more time to figure this out, and maybe we'll see something else if it doesn't shift it.
Yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, I already thought Aquilans were a good team. They're really good now, but the meta they're going into isn't great for them. It's just weird. I think Kazakin are still in a great spot. Like, Kazakin have a good place for them to now build off of. Kazakin have, like, an actual design. They have a feel for what they want to do. They want to recon the battlefield and shoot you, but in terms of, like, they want to set up their shots, which is really good. Yeah. Right? I think you could...
It's how they thematically should be played.
Yes. I think the thing you could do to Kazakin is add a new skill at arms where someone, operatives can do a mission action for 1 AP less. So then when you have your leader can also give someone that, so they have 2 different skill at arms. That would actually be really cool. But currently, Kazakin got greatly buffed, but just play Aquilans. Plus 1 operative feels a bit lazy. Can't say the buffs on the Dataslate feel that exciting to me. Yeah, it's just like they could have done so much more. But Aquilans, in my opinion, are a really hard team to buff because if you make their drop mechanic too good, like I'm pretty sure from what I can see in the rules, it used to work until turning point 3, which would have made that team insane with the pressure it can play. It would just lock you out of the game. So I acknowledge they're a hard team to balance, but they didn't balance them correctly. Speaking of a team that once got balanced incorrectly, we have Scout Squad. So Scouts didn't go to 10 operatives, but their knives are 4-5. So they're no longer 4-6. They were never 4-6. They're not going to be 4-6 again, but they are 4-5. So they've gone down to 3 attacks, but they've gone up to 4-5 unless you're already a melee specialist. So it's actually Scouts are fine. Scouts are in an okay spot.
I've played against them last Friday. Even on Beta Decima, they had some cool tricks.
Yeah, I think they're in a really nice spot. The issue is there are some teams they just can't deal with. But like over the weekend, we had Scouts beat Sanctifiers. Now, I like to believe the rose-tinted version of this story where the Scouts just won out via shotgun spam. But I've heard on the other flip side, it might be because they only got to the end of Turning Point 2. Either way, whatever happened. Either way, whatever happened, Scouts won, and I would take that as a victory for Scouts over Sanctifiers. I'm not gonna lie, I got a bit disheartened when I heard it probably was due to timeout, and I was like, oh, and it wasn't due to the Sanctifier play apparently, and I was like, oh gosh, oh no, not that. Let's see what other interesting. Nemesis Claw got a nerf. They can no longer run towards you in Gallowdark because when they use their reposition ploy, basically it didn't ignore walls. So while doors were closed, you were technically not further away from anyone, so you could just run into someone. Now you can't do that. So that's just tidying up how walls work. They didn't fix climbing. I believe the climbing stuff has probably been saved for an FAQ. I'll get onto climbing and jumping later. So anything actually... Pathfinders. Oh my gosh, Pathfinders.
Yeah.
Oh, Scrivo, you hate my Pathfinders, right?
Oh, I don't mind them. I've never played them.
Oh,
so.
Okay. Everyone...
But I also hated them in the last edition, so I might be a little bit tinted by that.
So they brought back last edition Pathfinders effectively. So they they reworked Markalites. So now for 1 Markalite, you get Saturate and Balanced. And for 2 Markalites, you get +1 to hit. Last edition, we had to get to 3 Markalites for that. Yes, Scrivo. Yes, that reaction is...
When do they drop out of the...
So you lose a Markalite token when you...
No, as in the competitive thing, the rotation. That's end of this
September.
This season,
Don't worry
right?
about it. September. Only at official.
Just need to avoid them.
Yeah.
Just need to dodge them for another 3 months.
And then their point blank Fusillade, you get to fight first with if you're on an engage order, when they charge you. I have no idea why they did this to Pathfinders. In my mind, they were like, there's one team we need to counter the Sanctifiers. And they just like released the Pathfinder button. My gosh, why did they give us back the gun in Kill Team? I am so happy. My Pathfinder friends have like come out from retirement. They're like, our time is now. Like,
they're like, how do you play this new version of the game?
Yeah, they were just like, they went from before like, this is going to be tough to like, we just have to dodge Felgore and Gourmongers. We have to dodge those 2 teams and we can do anything. And I'm just like, yes, they're back. I'm very tempted to go back to Pathfinders. They're so silly. I don't know why they did that. That is just like, I was like, you know, when you go like, oh, we gave them back the gun, and you're like, you really shouldn't have done that. It's just, you really shouldn't have. So that's a danger sign for everyone else. It's like, yeah, we need to catch up. What should we do? We'll release the nuclear fuel. Won't that be bad for everyone else? It's like, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. We're going to get there in the end. It's okay. It's okay. We've released the sharks into the shark tank. It will balance out the other aggressive fish we have in the aquarium, right? It's great. I don't know why they did that. That was so bad. I love it. I'm just like, wow. Is there any other thing? We've covered most of it, actually. I think we've been... Because a lot of the changes were just general universal changes. Hunter Clade got a pointless change. I'm so sorry, Hunter Clade players. Your change is pointless. It just lets someone do a different free doctrine or imperative during the activation, which is just useless. Like, absolutely useless. Yeah, that's all the real changes. Exaction Squad didn't get anything. Faststalker didn't really get anything big. Yeah, I think that's all the big stuff. So, like, post-balance Dataslate, the next 3 months are going to be rough, personally. As I said, the meta is effectively, if you're trying to win or play in events, the meta is elite kill teams, Sanctifiers, and Gourmongers. Gourmongers are the weakest. Oh, Deathcore. Oh my gosh, yeah, Deathcore. Deathcore gets severe now when fighting in their territory retaliating. So they always punch you with crits. Now remember, they can go to 3-4 with an equipment, so they're always hitting you for 4 damage. So they just gave them fists. They were like, yes! They didn't give them the bionic arm spam, but that's great.
They're not loading up their arms.
Yeah, reloading their arms. I was just like, look, I just wanted the 4-attack bionic arm. I just want to keep fisting my opponent, shouting, bionic arm! Bionic arm! You didn't play Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you don't understand. So, but yeah, overall, the meta is unfortunately still Sanctifiers, Gourmongers, Elites. Oddly, Gourmongers are the weakest of that trifecta. The interesting thing, though, I've actually been experimenting with Gourmongers. I think they have more play into Elites than people give them. It's still not easy, but I actually think a lot of the Elite matchups are like on a 10 scale, 5-5, or like 6-4 to the Elites. So that's actually really close.
So skill expression of the player can help tip it over.
Yeah, the game is still skill-based, but the meta is effectively Gourmongers, Elites, and Sanctifiers. The problem Gourmongers will have are Angels of Death and Plague Marines, to an extent... Oh, and Warp Coven, and to an extent, Legionary. Well, all the Elites, really. Yeah. Oddly, not so much Phobos. Phobos can quickly fall to Gourmongers because Gourmongers are so fast.
Yeah.
Nemesis Claw isn't that bad, in my opinion, for Gourmongers. I think Gourmongers can take that. Then you've got teams that can deal with Sanctifiers. I used to be able to think Phobos could. I am not sure Phobos actually can take Sanctifiers. They're just too fast for them. I know Plague Marines definitely can, because I've done it. Angels of Death can, and Warp Coven. Nemesis Claw as well, because once Nemesis Claw gets stuck in, they now just bully Sanctifiers. But it's still not easy. And especially if you're playing Sanctifiers on Gallowdark, it's really hard for the elite player to actually safely do anything. But speaking of big winners from the Balanced Dataslate, Angels of Death. They did nothing. Their counteracting got technically nerfed with worse with heavy weapons, but they're in a great spot. They did nothing. Corsairs got nerfed. Yep. The Eldari teams in general got nerfed, which is great for them. They do well into everything else. Plague Marines is just like not a great matchup, but otherwise they still have Jeweler.
It's winnable though.
Yeah, they're just honest. And the thing is,
just take your specs.
Yeah.
Done.
What I really found funny is the people asking for Angels of Death nerfs. So the interesting thing is, Jeweler is probably a bit too strong, but Jeweler is the only thing keeping Angels of Death competitive at the moment, in my opinion. You take away Jeweler, that team collapses. But it kind of harks into the problem with Angels of Death where you're relying on spike dice. If you don't have a way to like reliably roll crits, or you just don't roll a crit during a sequence, Jeweler is kind of just garbage. It's like not that great. But they do well into dealing with Sanctifiers because you take pistol guys and you just walk up, stop double shooting. If the Sanctifier player charges you, you just parry them out, or you can just charge and fight them. If you roll a crit, you hit them for 4 damage, then hit them for 3 and kill them. So you actually have ways to double fight them. Angels of Death, huge winners. No nerfs. I think they're in a great spot. Like for me, they probably are in S tier, but they're barely in S tier. They're like their fingertips are like holding onto the ledge of S tier. They're just barely hanging in there, and that's funny. Because as I said, the main issue is you're going to come into these tough matchups, and it's going to come up to moments where you need that like key dice roll. And either you need your opponent to roll badly, or you need in this when you charge, you need to roll 1 crit. Because I play them with Jeweler and Hardy. So Jeweler's the primary, and then Hardy is the lethal 5-up crit saves, because that helps me into the Jaeger matchups. Not the Jaeger, the Salvager matchups, as well as the Eldari teams, because I just get crit saves, and then I swap out as needed. A lot of people are running aggressive with Jeweler, but then you're literally relying on rolling crits to proc. Not only the best benefit from Jeweler, but rending. And when you don't get that, you kind of get locked into running the Assault Sergeant, who isn't bad, but it's like you really want the captain. So I think Angels of Death are completely fine where they are. Like, it's just... Oddly, they are, I think, the only faction with a large enough games from the stats to actually be reliable. So they have so many games. They are the one faction where I look at their win rate and go, it's actually right, comparable to 40k, because I think something like, I think they got something crazy like 600 games in April. They got like
doesn't surprise me.
So everyone going like, oh, their win rates are a lie. When it comes to Angels of Death, their win rate is correct, and it's always just been below 45. So they are very good. They still have got event wins and tops, but they haven't won a 4-round event. They win 3-round events. They can place, the way my friend describes it with Angels of Death, you're very likely to place an event. You're not going to win a long event. Any long tournament, you're not going to win just because your team's too honest. So
there's factions that will prey on them, and you can be outperformed by the player as well.
Yes. I forgot about the salvage teams. So the Votan teams.
Oh, the Votan. Yep. Nah, screw them.
I will actually say, salvagers.
They're coming up short, mate.
Salvagers got their jump pack warrior nerfed. He went down to 7-inch move from 8-inch. Oddly, he can still dash fly, whereas a Shade Runner can't. I think they need to fix that for parity reasons. And Writ of Claim is now, if you contest 2 or more objectives, you get to reroll the dice for initiative, which is much fairer than you contest/control the objectives and get +1 for each, where they would go into Turning Point 2 with +4 on the initiative roll. Yeah. So
no, thank you.
The funny thing was, people like they could have gotten something in return, but they were doing really solidly. And the interesting thing with Halfkin salvagers, Halfkin, they're like controlling the initiative in Games Workshop games or any game in general is too strong, and any kind of control like that has been removed. So people like go, oh, Blades of Cain's too strong because it's D3, and it's like, but it's random. It's D3. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed
it's
free.
Not always going to be helpful.
Yeah, you can't go, I'm going to guarantee plus. Like if you went crazy, you could get +6 to the initiative roll. So, and then you know, as like we've played a lot of Games Workshop games. We knew that was never going to last. So
no.
And then salvagers, Jaegers, they get +1 attack with their with their strategy ploy if they're retaliating or fighting. And now their blades give them balanced. And if you already had blades, you get ceaseless. They're a lot better at fighting, which is really nice.
Which is good because they did feel a little bit like
crap.
Yeah, anemic was what I was going to go with. But yeah, sure, crap's fine.
I think the only problem is now you. Because you had this balance, do I go shotgun warriors or do I go blade warriors? And now I think you always go shotgun warriors because the blade warriors have ceaseless, but the shotgun warriors are 4 attacks now with balanced and have a shotgun that's 4/4.
I'd rather both choices. Yeah.
You know, which is fine. And I think they're an interesting spot. They might be okay into Jaegers. Not Jaegers, to Sanctifiers. They would actually be good into other teams, but I'm not sure if they are. The problem is elites, but I think they do a lot better now. So it's interesting where to build off. I would have liked another resourceful point, but so huge winners. Angels of Death, as we've already clarified. Chaos Cult.
Because nothing happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. This is the funniest thing when I go like, who were winners and losers? And people go like, yeah, but they did nothing. And I was like, exactly.
But that's the point. It's this. They're there. Everyone else has gone like that.
Yeah.
And some guys have nudged up to kind of with them.
Yeah.
It's like,
the Felgore nerfs specifically really help Angels of Death. They can like just bully Felgore even more now, which is great for Angels of Death.
Guess what I've got left in my league?
Felgore. That poor guy. Oh gosh. That poor person.
Poor Robbie.
It's okay. And then I think Phobos is still like, Warp Coven got a minor nerf where they can't dash and change their order with Capricious Plan. Warp Coven also stole away with that's more of a nerf for them than it was for the nerfs that Plague Marines and Chaos Cult got, but Warp Coven are still way too good. And I'm surprised they were very tame with Warp Coven, which is very confusing. Because the other big strength from Warp Coven, they can go 3 sorcerers and 3 other elites, or they could go 3 sorcerers and 6 Zangors. Like, that's a 9 operative team, which is very hard to deal with. And they can mix and match, so they don't have to go that wide, but the flexibility is so strong.
Yeah.
So, Sirius, is there anything that can help Deathcore? Deathcore in a great spot. They don't really need any more help. The meta around them needs to change a bit. But Warp Coven are huge winners. I think Warp Coven, the problem Warp Coven have is if you go wide, the Zangors actually can't do as much into Sanctifiers. And then the problem is if you rely on your elites got a bit worse and they can become more susceptible to just getting flamed to death. And they're not that great in combat. So it's a weird place Warp Coven are in. I still think they have a good shot into Sanctifiers, but not as good as Angels of Death and Plague Marines or Nemesis Claw. But they also completely decimate Gourmongers. I'm not sure how Gourmongers are supposed to beat Warp Coven. I think it's a good time to talk about Gourmongers. I think Gourmongers are incredibly popular, and they're only going to get more popular because they really do reward you just going like rushing down your opponent. And I think there's 2 things people haven't tapped with the team yet. It's using your blood tanks to... if you use the inciter, like your blood vial guy, what I was experimenting with was going into turning point, end of turning point, like turning point 1, I would immediately give my gore tank to the big axe guy. So at the start of turning point 2, he's on 2 gore tanks. So when he charges in with Relentless, he will kill a Marine reliably because he'll Relentless, likely get his hits, then he can immediately heal and then fight again and just kill. And that gives you a CP back. And like setting that up every turning point so you have someone on full tank for when they charge next turning point is really huge. And then also, it does involve you buying more Gourmongers, but having extra aspirants is really important for certain matchups. I think people, like the specialists are great, but in some matchups, especially when you're playing on Gallowdark, when you're playing into wide teams, you really want more aspirants because the ability to kill someone, do a free charge, and then fight again is really powerful. Like that 2-inch extra free charge really messes up like Sanctifiers, even Pathfinders. You don't want to take the Impaler into Pathfinders because you don't want to shoot them. You really have to kill them. If you go into a shootout with Pathfinders, the Pathfinder player will go, excellent, okay, let's go into our guns. So yeah. So Gourmongers are in a really great spot, but they are also the new Felgore. They gatekeep anything that's not an elite out of the game, in my opinion. Because I was discussing,
it's a shame, right?
Yeah. I think it is fixable. So the only problem with Gourmongers is their heal should be D3 plus 1 instead of 2D3 to mirror other heals. And then also their damage negation should only be once per operative per turning point instead of every time you fight them. Because that actually messes up Felgore a lot. But Gourmongers are in a great spot. They probably will get touched in the next July Balance Dataslate. Obviously, Sanctifiers, you're great. You are actually going to be forced to learn how to play your team. And we need more people to play Sanctifiers. So, Scrivo, I need you to play Sanctifiers. It's... I
don't think I want to.
Yeah, so this is the thing. Lots of people actually don't want to play Sanctifiers. What I found funny, on the Kill Team Reddit, people were getting downvoted for sharing pictures of their Sanctifiers that they finished painting. Like, that's how much the vitriol is. And the thing is, while it may be a bit extreme, that team is the most miserable team I've ever had to play against. I've never felt less fun than seeing a person dance 11 operatives around my face, and I'm going like, they can still do way more. And I was just like, what is this? I have to gamble. Like, what are decent aspirant proxies? I think you could get away with elevating the bases of any normal... Are the Jackals on 32mm bases or 28s?
28s.
You would have to bulk up normal Jackals or just Bloodletters, but it'd look a bit off.
There is some 3D proxies I've seen people have got for 40k, and I'm just like, they don't look nice.
Yeah. Staying hydrated in this lovely heat wave weather, because the world's melting. There are still good off picks. I still think Felgore are a good off pick. They're a little bit worse. They suffer more into elites, but they do well into Sanctifiers and still have some kind of game into Gourmongers. Who else are the good off? Chaos Cult are a really good off meta team, as well as Galapox. I think both of those teams can now have game into Sanctifiers. It's not great, but they have a chance. The problem they'll have is into elites, more so for Galapox. Chaos Cult can handle some elites, but I think Chaos Cult really struggle into Warp Coven and Plague Marines. Angels of Death, I think they just have enough chip to get around, unfortunately, with that damage output. There's nothing much you can do. They will just kill your dudes, which it sucks, but there's nothing you can do. I don't think there's... I think, oddly, if you're going after elite hunting, Aquilans are amazing for that, especially now, because the problem you had as the elite player, as the Aquilin player, they would wait until turning point 3 to engage, and then you don't have a relentless melter. Now, if they wait until turning point 3, you run into their territory with a free APL relentless melter and kill someone. So you actually have really good chances of killing elites. So if you just want to hate elites, I would go Tempestus Aquilins. And if you wanted a really, really fun off-meta kill team, it would be Pathfinders. But you do have...
I knew you were going to go there.
You do have to accept... you are very likely...
But no one will like you.
Yeah, no one will like you. But you will also... Oddly, everyone will go like, I'd rather play Pathfinders than Sanctifiers. But you would... I don't know how you actually beat Gourmongers and Felgore. That is actually a really, almost borderline impossible matchup. And those teams are quite popular. Star Striders are fun. But Star Striders cannot deal with Gourmongers or Sanctifiers or... what do you call them? Felgore. That is just... Those are teams they just can't deal with. It's just outside of their remit. Their dedicated melee operatives aren't that great. But what used to... Oh, Commandos are actually a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always found them relatively alright into some of the elite teams.
Yeah, I would think Commandos and Wrecker Crew occupy a really nice space. The problem is, my friends were like, I think they have chances into Sanctifiers. then they played the Sanctifier matchup and were just like, it was over by turning
It
point
wasn't
2.
great.
Yeah, it's just like...
I've seen that a lot with Wreckers, that if the dice are being a bit meh, the game can snowball against them as well.
It wasn't even the dice. It was the fact that they just started hand flaming them. Because the hand flamers are 3/3.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's just like, I'll just a scratch and live. And it's like, okay, but you will take D3 damage when you activate, which will likely kill you. And then there's just like, because you got blaze tokens.
No thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah. You know, to be fair, both Orc teams did get buff in a way, because now their bomb squigs don't count towards any enemy victory conditions in TAC Ops, which is fine. Like, that's how they should have worked. It was just people were like, technically, it's not a victory condition. A victory condition is not a TAC Op. And I was like, okay, technically, playing the game is like you in this tournament. You were DQ'd. It's like, okay. Like, it's just like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
They are good. I think they have game into elites, but I just don't know how they beat Sanctifiers. And the Gourmongers get around them because Gourmongers will likely either roll a crit or spend a CP to get severe and then just kill you.
Yeah. The minute there's crits involved, Orcs just struggle.
Yes.
That was my biggest thing I found. It's like, sometimes if the dice are spiking, you don't have an answer to it, and you're like, well, I'll just die then. Cool.
Yeah, and it's like, I do like how the damage negation is vulnerable to crits, because it meant Eldari had the space, and then they just ignore that with Sanctifiers. So it's kind of, when your choppers go down to 3/4, you're not happy. The hammer guys are great for wreckers though, because they go down to 4/5, so that you're still 2-shot.
Yeah.
But they will always stop you blowing up your big guy. But if a Sanctifier player ever lets you blow up your big guy, he will literally kill most of their kill team and max out your wrecker points. It's just
excellent.
Yeah,
that's what we want.
Yeah, it's just like the likeliness of that happening is impossible. But what are you sticking with, Scrivo, after the Balance Dataslate?
So I've got to get the Gourmongers at least painted and try them.
Yep.
But for the short term, as much as I'd like to jump onto something because it's really competitive, I'm just going to stay with something that's relatively competitive and keep with my Angels of Death, because I don't play as frequently as I probably should to be competitive. But the reps that I've been getting with my Angels of Death since February, I want to say it was February I first did them for... Was that when we went to Warhammer World? February?
Yeah.
Or January. January. It means I've just been building on it. And I think sometimes more can be said for just sticking to a team, getting that good experience with them into the different matchups, understanding what you can do with your equipment, with your chapter tactics. That it's quite interesting that if I jumped around, I think I wouldn't understand any of my teams very well.
Yes.
Whilst at least now I have a great understanding of one team.
I completely agree with you, because I found, even though, like, you know, I have switched around teams a lot and done a lot of success with them, I actually found in the long term, I only had good success when I stuck with a team, whether that be Gallophox, Pathfinders.
You have like a period, don't you, where you just focus on them for a good few events and it builds on it.
Yeah, no, because exactly. So originally I was playing Hand of the Archon. I cannot play Hand of the Archon into this meta. And I also am looking for a team that is not a Season 1 team, so it won't get, yassified and disappear in September. So for me, it was always going to be a Season 2 team or onwards, and I'm just going to stick on Plague Marines for now. I really enjoy how they play. For me, they're like an interesting Gallophox, like a new way to play Gallophox, which I really like. And they will last me at least up until Worlds. So I didn't want to go back to Elites, but the meta forced me into Elites. I enjoy painting them. The miniatures are really nice. I've ordered the Death Guard Praetor to be my leader, so I'll paint that up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's really good.
Nice. Very cool.
It also matches the height profile of the current Plague Marine guy, because the Plague Marine guy has a huge backpack with a Nurgling and a pike, and his knife sticks out more. So the Death Guard one will...
Another one.
Yeah, so the Death Guard one will mimic the height, so at least I can go... It is a heresy model, but it now matches the size profile.
Yeah.
How many games do you think you need before you understand a team? It depends. It literally depends on the player. So, for example, I went into the Plague Marine, and I went into those 7 games, so the 3-round tournament and the 4-round tournament, with no practice. But that's because I did a lot of like research practice. So I read up a lot about the teams, I had understanding going into the meta. I already knew the missions inside and out because I've played them so much. But I was very lucky there also. Generally, I get my practice from tournaments, but I would advise at least 1 or 2 games before you go in to like get a feel of a team. Usually 3 games. I learned the team as I was playing over the weekend, which was fun, but also terrifying, especially when you're playing into good players. So, but it's the best way to learn. So it depends on the player.
For me, my first event with Angels of Death, I did 3 practice games on 2 of the 3 types of terrain, and that set me up really well that I actually at least knew how to play roughly onto Gallo Dark because I hadn't played it in the new edition. So I think the team and the terrain together, I personally find I learn more from doing. It's not for everyone, right? Like, you can sit and read stuff and understand it. I have to physically move it around to get a real understanding of it. I think it's the kind of thing for me.
Oh, no, I agree. I learned more from practice because even in my first game, I forgot to play Contagion, Turning Point 2. Just completely forgot.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just...
And that's one where you go, of course I would have.
Yeah, and I was like, there's no way I can go to my opponent. I had more than enough CP. I was like, there's no way I can go mid-Turning Point. Oh, I'm really sorry, I forgot to play Contagion. So I just had to like tough out that activation, and I just like my leader was just like, don't worry, he's gonna roll as if he had Contagion and just roll 2s. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was so lucky. But generally I would recommend 3 games, but it varies on the player.
It also depends on the team because some of them feel a little bit more straightforward to pick up.
Yes,
depending on the kind of the actual team's main rules as well as the layers that get put on by the strats or the operatives.
Well, yeah, and I was chatting to a lot of friends for feedback and advice. So like my friend Orion helped me a lot. I was chatting to another friend. He actually like advised me to never run like plague vents because he thought they were pretty much pointless. But I decided to experiment with them more over the weekend, especially into elite kill teams that had at least half their composition as melee models, and it helped me win one of my tournament games on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Because it's understanding where that niche that it is required.
Yes. It's like you wouldn't run it every game, but I don't think you would never run it. And even into...
It's when you preload yourself going, I'm only taking this equipment. That's the danger, because then you're missing the opportunities of these things. Like the first time I went into Plague Marines, realizing that I had access to the Auspex, I was like, okay, this helps. Yeah. Without that, you're scuppered.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think this is one of the biggest pitfalls of online discourse. If you go into a lot of faction channels, people go like, you have to run X, you can't run Y, you should always run this. Like, for me, so Sirius, Plague Marine Vents versus Gourmongers, always run Plague Vents into melee teams because they're always going to be within 3. And then look at your kill team composition. So when I played into Angels of Death, they had 3 close combat models, 4. So I was just like, yeah, I'm going to take Plague Vents, even though they were just, they were walking within 2 to shoot. So then when I poisoned them, when they would next activate, they'd still be within 3. So it's actually quite a big radius. But it's...
Damn it, that's our trick, John. How did you know our trick?
But even when I was like playing Hand of the Archon, people were like, always take crack grenades. I rarely take crack grenades as Hand of the Archon because I found them not useful. But everyone would constantly take them because they're like, oh, you get Ceaseless and Balanced and maybe Relentless for a CP. And I was like, it still hits on 4s. I know the math calculator shows it's really beneficial to do, but you're still hitting on 4s. I do not like that versus the splinter damage. 3-4 hitting over on 3s with lethal 5 up and from Darkness Death. They both are from Darkness Death, but lethal 5 up. You're more reliable to hit and get more hits. So it all comes down to your experience and your judgment, which is what I like about this edition of Kill Team. It's still very skill-based. So, like, obviously, if someone's running a better team than you, if you're the better player, you'll still win. It's the problem, the reason, like, generally people are finding this meta quite depressing than the last one. If players are very closely matched, the person running the better team at the moment will win, which is unfun. There's very little skill expression unless your opponent just turns their brain off or rolls horribly, which when you're trying to play competitively at like big events is really demoralizing because you're just like, this is just a very extreme version of rock, paper, scissors, which I think a lot of people miss the nuance of. So, but I think we've discussed everything now. I think that's a good breakdown of the balanced data slate. Anything you'd like to add, Scrivo, or anyone in chat?
I'm more looking forward to I'm now looking at kind of like, now we've had the slate, like the next box, we know what's in it. I'm now kind of excited to start kind of thinking about what's coming after.
Ooh.
Like, we've got a Plague Marine team, we've got a Cornate team, the Gourmongers. Yes, we've got the Walk Coven. Does it mean we're going to get a Slanesh kill team in the next season?
Ooh.
That's the thing that's been kind of plaguing me for the last couple of days.
Yeah, I think once we see the terrain set jungle, it will give us a good idea. I'm completely sold after you told me that we will probably get a Slanesh cultist kill team.
It makes sense, right? That's the one thing they don't have.
Yes.
That is such an obvious massive hole.
Yes.
Because I know that, for instance, Death Guard have lost their access to cultists in 40k.
Yes.
But they've got Poxwalkers, so it's fine. They've got something. They've got something that does that. But to me, I'm like, yeah. And like Siri said in the chat, Deathwatch.
Oh yes.
I really feel like that's the home Deathwatch should have, because a kill team is literally what they do. So
the game's named after them in a way. No, but they're named after the game. But
they could build on what Angels of Death does really well, but add even more flavor and depth by doing them. But I don't know. Do we need it, or do we just need to see more Angels of Death teams painted up as Deathwatch?
I think the only thing without Angels of Death, I think they'd probably be with the way Kill Team is designed, they will either drop in the 3rd season or the new edition, because if you remember, they were effectively killed off and then brought back due to fan demand. Bizarre, they were killed off, by the way. Bizarre.
Yeah. It was an odd one, because a lot of us didn't even get the models from the gacha boxes.
Yeah.
Before they were disappeared.
So,
which was a shame.
Yeah, so it's like I can see Deathwatch coming back either the end of season 3 or in the new edition, in 2 years' time.
It feels like an edition launch to me.
Yeah, I could see the new box being like Deathwatch versus whatever. I wouldn't say no. We got literally Tyranids. If we can get Tyranid, anything is possible. We got
we've got a Servitors bloody kill team coming up. We've got an Inquisition one and one of the blooming priests. Like, if you told me that we're going to get like models based off of stuff from the original Sisters Battle Codex or Inquisitor, I would have laughed at you. But all of those models are featured, have been homages to really old cool stuff. So
I would say I would be very. One thing I would also expect is a new Nurgle cultist team. So like either like new Poxwalkers or something like that, or mortal cultists, and a Zeech version. I don't think they'll just leave it as Angors. I think they will definitely, especially after the Space Marine game.
Yes, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner, and what's missing from the Codex is a cultists unit, and I don't think Poxwalkers quite fill that void in the same way.
Because they're not even like cultists; they're just infected people, either allies or enemies.
Yeah,
they're just like people caught in the crossfire.
Yeah, exactly. They're just being dragged along by Nurgle's taint.
I would say Grey Knights, but also I would only expect Grey Knights for season 3, because that would be after the new edition of 40k. Or the next edition of Kill Team, when Grey Knights are due an update. You can tell they've just held it back. Like, there's no way these models are supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think Custodes. To me, Custodes only works if they go and make an actual unit of like lighter armored custodians.
Eyes of the Emperor.
And have half the sprue being sisters at a push. Like, you either have 3 operatives or you have some sisters with them.
I think you
could
get away with 5 Eyes of the Emperor. Because
just less tough, like less save.
Yeah, they would have a 3-up save. They wouldn't, or even a 4-up save, but they would all have at least 18 wounds. And like, I would, their thing was they can never provide combat support because they don't work as a unit. They're just like always. That would be really
Make them
cool.
Like lions,
Yeah. Just...
and maybe do it like you can have 5, but you can go 4 and have say 3 sisters. So there's a way of giving.
Oh, I think they'd get rid of that. They wouldn't. It's because they don't like.
They wouldn't do that?
They don't like going wide. Or we could get a Sister Silence team.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because their kit is at that point where you look at it and go, it's a bit boring.
Yep. I'm also surprised we don't have a proper Adeptus Oriata kill team. That's one thing I'm expecting.
Yeah. They've not really fleshed out new units of them outside of the actual kill team that we got, right, for infantry.
I think they could probably give them a new reconnaissance. Well, like, novitiates are kind of like their scouts, but I wouldn't be surprised if they gave like a new unit for Soriatas, because I think that's in demand as well, and they do appeal to like what people want. So I mean, we'd obviously get a Catachan kill team. I think that's gonna come.
That feels like the next. If we're getting a jungle box, that feels like a slam dunk if they put that with the jungle.
Yeah, jungle. I would also expect what do you call them? The beast snaggers. Yeah, a beast snagger kill team. That kind of just makes sense.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity to do lots of different things with orcs as well.
Yeah, I would like a wide beast snagger team. That'd be really interesting.
I'd like an orc team that doesn't have fucking squig bombs though, because it's cute the first time, but when it's every unit's got squig bombs, it becomes kind of like the gimmick's done.
What about winged squigs with bombs?
No, because that's an Underworlds reference. Okay. I don't like that, John. I saw that. You and your bat squig with your little troll. Ugh.
Wait, are Sanctifiers...
Molog's mob.
Gosh, are Sanctifiers in the Sisters of Battle Code?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They are, but they're not sisters coded in as much as like they're not nuns in power armor. But yeah, they work for both armies. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like they fit in the theme, and it makes sense, especially when you look at how Sisters of Battle were originally as an army. Yeah. That all the priests and stuff were in there, and you even had like the male militia with like their shirts unbuttoned and all that sort of silly things.
I would be shocked if we don't get the this is the box the fans really want. So it's the Imperial shop workers versus the Chaos tax collectors. I think we really that'd be the box everyone.
There is a market in Necromunda that you can already buy, so we've got the train there ready for it.
Each team could have a pet of some kind. One could have a dog. One could have a cat. It's perfect. It writes itself.
Yeah.
We are missing the elephant in the room. Imperial Knights. Yeah. And on that note, I think that's pretty much it for me. Scrivo. Remember, you can buy Scrivo a coffee. He designed everything you see before you, even this lovely face. So if you want to,
my brush slipped when I was doing his eyebrows.
Shut up.
Sorry, guys.
Scrivo does a lot of custom art. You've done like a lot of art for the Wales WTC for 40k. You've done like the pairing cards. So if you're looking for custom pairing cards, if you're going to the World Team Championships, Scrivo is your guy. He does really nice custom.
I love doing them. They're great fun to do.
So he'll send a link momentarily, but you can also buy him a coffee if you want. And yeah, you've got me. I'll have another video on Friday, and then I have some more videos. And then obviously we have the Goon Hammer open. But if you've listened to us on the podcast, thank you. It's been a long time, but don't worry, we'll be back with more guides and stuff. And you can always watch it live, where you get to see our faces and more stuff. But remember...
Well, it went from like 3 months to 3 weeks, so...
We'll do
maybe
the
3
next
days.
one soon-ish. Like, we want to do it at least once every 4 weeks. But remember, no matter what happens with the balance update, you'll always be near Scrivo, as long as you can find Rob. Roll a crit. Keep rolling a crit.